So this story is going pretty damn viral. A bunch of protesters went to the home of Tucker Carlson. It's actually kind of crazy, reportedly. Some of the protesters rang the doorbell, kept pressing it, started banging into the door. And according to the Washington Post and a couple other outlets, Tucker Carlson's wife was in the kitchen when all of these protesters outside his home started yelling and actually damaged the door. They broke it. So she hid in the pantry and called 911 thinking it was a home invasion. Now there's a debate as to whether or not protesting in front of people's homes is appropriate. And I want to say this. This has happened before. This isn't new. This might be an escalation of this current political cycle, but there were documentaries I watched 10 years ago where people used to find the homes of executives of big companies and go and protest at their houses. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's wrong, right? Tucker Carlson is a pundit. He has opinions. And because of that, they're calling him all of these horrible names. And Tucker Carlson's not even the worst guy on Fox News. I think Shep Smith is fantastic. I don't like Hannity, not a big fan of Laura Ingraham, and Tucker Carlson I think is okay, but sometimes I kind of roll my eyes at the segments he does. But even my dad and my friends are kind of like, yeah, Tucker Carlson's not that bad, right? So to go to his house, of all people, but apparently they didn't just go to his house, they actually doxed a bunch of other people. And what's really crazy is that the group that was apparently organizing it or something, they got banned on Twitter, or it's a suspension. I don't know if it's a permanent ban. I think it's a suspension for at least a little while, because they actually threatened the safety of people and were publishing private information. So let's take a look at what the Washington Post says. Quote, "They were threatening me and my family, Tucker Carlson's home targeted by protesters. Fox News host Tucker Carlson was at his desk Wednesday evening, less than 2 hours before his 8 p.m. live show, when he suddenly started receiving multiple text messages. There was some sort of commotion happening outside his home in Northwest D.C. I called my wife," Carlson told the Washington Post in a phone interview. "She had been in the kitchen alone getting ready to go to dinner, and she heard pounding on the front door and screaming. Someone started throwing himself against the front door and actually cracked the front door." Right? That's not protest. That is not a protest. And you got people who are saying, oh, it was just a protest, calm down. No. They were breaking the door in, okay? That is beyond, listen, if this escalation continues, if this division gets more extreme, how long until there's some kind of just mob mentality of people? Look, this is a mob mentality already. They cracked the door. What would have happened if someone actually broke the door in? Someone else would have gone inside. Then people would start trashing inside his home. It's going to escalate. It's going to escalate. I have been saying this over and over again since a year ago. When we saw the bike lock basher in Berkeley, I said it's only going to get worse. It will. And where is the media in this, okay? When it comes to Antifa and the street violence, they didn't call it out. And because of it, these people are emboldened. They keep going on and on about the fringe alt-right and these fringy white supremacist groups. Yeah, sure, they're fringy. Sure, there have been extremist actions. By all means, we should report on it. But you need to talk about what's going on here. So, and look, I'm not criticizing the Washington Post right now. I'm not criticizing the media. They're actually covering the story. This is what's going to keep happening. Let's keep reading. His wife was thinking it was a home invasion, locked herself in the pantry and called 911, Carlson said. The couple have 4 children, but none of them were home at the time. It wasn't a home invasion. It was a protest. No, it was not a protest. That is not a protest. A protest would be fine. You stand outside of his house and you protest. We've seen it before, okay? There have been politicians, people go to their houses and they protest. Sure, fine. I think it's you're close to crossing the line in terms of strategy and ethics. But you do have a right to stand out in a public space and yell. Breaking someone's door in, mashing their doorbell, and apparently someone graffitied his driveway. That's not a protest, right? You're bordering on, I don't even know what you'd call it, but trying to break someone's door in? Come on. According to now deleted social media posts shared by Smash Racism DC, a local anti-fascist organization whose members have been tied to other demonstrations against prominent Republican figures, activists showed up outside Carlson's home Wednesday and they had a message for him. They said, "Tucker Carlson, we are outside your home," one person could be heard saying in the since-deleted video. The person, using a bullhorn, accused Carlson of promoting hate and an ideology that has led to thousands of people dying, which is just nuts, just plain nuts. "We want you to know, we know where you sleep at night," the person concluded before leading the group to chant, "Tucker Carlson, we will fight. We know where you sleep at night." That is a threat. Someone in the video, I don't have the video up now because I guess it's been deleted. My understanding is they actually made reference to, let's just say, the suspicious packages that were sent out, right? Making a reference to Tucker Carlson and doing something like that. I can't imagine what they would mean by bringing something like that up. But when you take into consideration they actually damaged his door, I don't think their intentions were pure, and I don't think their intentions were protest. I think what's going to happen is eventually someone will break the door down, and some other people will be emboldened by the mob mentality, and then it's going to get really bad. Roughly 20 people had gathered outside Carlson's residence, said Lieutenant John Pongratz of the DC Police. Authorities received a call at about 6:30 p.m. Wednesday and responded within a few minutes, Pongratz told the Post. Carlson said the protesters had blocked off both ends of his street and carried signs that listed his home address. The group called Carlson a racist scumbag and demanded that he leave town, according to posts on Twitter. A woman was also overheard in one of the deleted videos saying she wanted to... Yes, this is what I can't read this. I literally can't read this because of YouTube rules and regulations. But she wanted to bring a suspicious device to his house. She wanted to bring something that would trigger a chemical reaction that would increase pressure within a concealed space and cause a shockwave and damage around them. That's me trying to explain to you what she was talking about. I think you can get the idea. It wasn't a protest, it was a threat, said Carlson, who was often denounced by critics, particularly liberal ones, for his rhetoric about immigrants and minorities on his Fox News show. They weren't protesting anything specific that I had said. They weren't asking me to change anything. They weren't protesting a policy or advocating for legislation. They were threatening me and my family and telling me to leave my own neighborhood in a city that I grew up in. He added that he still does not know who was behind the protest, but plans to find out. On Twitter, Smash Racism DC accused Carlson of spreading fear into our homes every night, taking particular issue with his comments about the migrant caravan. Tonight, you're reminded that we have a voice. A now deleted tweet read, "Tonight we remind you that you are not safe either." And this is why they got banned. So I don't want to read through this whole story because they do talk a little bit more about what's going on and some other issues. But Matthew Iglesias, I believe he's of Vox, actually said if something to the effect of if you are sympathize with Tucker Carlson instead of his victims, you need to stop and take a moment to think about that. Yeah, he really said. I tweeted about it. I don't have the tweet pulled up. Victims of Tucker Carlson's opinions? It's absolutely insane rhetoric. So I've also got this article up from the Gateway Pundit. Now, look, I'm not a big fan of the Gateway Pundit at all. I think they've put out really questionable material in the past. This is from Cassandra Fairbanks. I know Cassandra; she's a friend. I don't think she's going to lie. I think the story is accurate, mostly because it's just screenshots. But apparently, a Smash Racism account posted a paste bin that had private details. So the article is, they published home addresses of Tucker Carlson, his brother, as well as Ann Coulter, Neil Patel, and Sean Hannity. So I'm going to move on now. I got some other tweets I want to pull up. Jeremy Barr, he tweeted, Twitter has suspended the account of the anti-fascist activist group Smash Racism DC that protested in front of Tucker Carlson's house tonight. Just got DC police report from the incident. Police responded to a call from Carlson's wife, who heard banging on the door. MPD arrived on scene and found a group of approximately 20 people. It was discovered that unknown persons spray-painted an anarchy symbol on the driveway. 6 handwritten posters from the protesters were seized by police during the incident, which was characterized as anti-political and a suspected hate crime. Wait, is that serious? They characterized the seizing of that as a suspected hate crime? Maybe I'm misunderstanding this. So it's not just this. I've got one more tweet that I want to highlight. It's from Julio Rosas. He says, with Smash Racism DC back in the news, it's a good reminder that they told Republicans they were, quote, not safe before deleting the tweet. And this is from September. They said, this is a message to Ted Cruz, Brett Kavanaugh, Donald Trump, and the rest of the racist, sexist, transphobic, homophobic, right-wing scum. You are not safe. We will find you. We will expose you. We will take you from the peace you have taken from so many others. Why does this happen? Well, I'll tell you my opinion, which you may have heard before. Why do these people think words are violence? Bulldozer parents, right? It's a reference to parents who just bulldoze all the obstacles out from in front of their children. These people tend to grow up in cities. They're wealthier. They're progressive. Progressive activists tend to be wealthier. That's something we learned from YouGov data from a group called More in Common. We learned that progressives typically are overwhelmingly white. They make more than 6 figures. So here's what happens. These kids grow up never experiencing any hardship. They're constantly told that everyone's racist, and they're in a white person bubble. They then start blaming all of the white people for problems they've never seen or experienced, think words are violence, and then go out complaining because racist white people are using words and words are violence. Words are not violence. Not at all. But what do you, so imagine this. These kids who have never experienced any hardship in their lives, they grow up, they go to school, everything's a safe space, and then someone says, you're dumb. And they go, That's violence. You've affected me in a way I've never been affected before. And this is what we're going to keep seeing. Now, some people have said, Tim, if you're going to call them weak and you know, sensitive, we're talking about people who tried breaking down a door of Tucker Carlson's home. Right. And as I mentioned in a previous video, when little children throw temper tantrums, sometimes they bite. Sometimes they thrash about and get violent. And that can manifest in adults, people who are in their 20s, who think words are violence, have a panic attack, and get violent. This will escalate. 100% this will escalate. I'm glad to see that Twitter took these accounts down, but I'm going to say it again. This will escalate because I've said it before, and there's no reason to expect this to stop, right? This is an escalation. We've seen protests in front of people's houses, but now they're trying to break the door down, okay? What's going to happen next is the mob mentality will continue and people will get carried away. The Democrats made meek gains in the midterm election. There was no big, wave against Trump. Or I think it's fair to say there was a wave of people, record voter turnout, but the Republicans countered it with a red wall. What this means is they're not gaining ground. They're not winning. They may have gained some ground in the midterms, the Democrats, but for the most part, Trump's policies on a national level, from senators to states to the federal government, people still prefer Trump. His favorability is up, and that means these people will continually get more angry and more desperate. I can only imagine what they would do if they actually gained power. And this is what scares me, absolutely scares me, because even though my policies lean left, this is worrisome, and they need to denounce it. I look forward to seeing high-profile individuals on the left denounce what happened. Oh, I'm sorry, Matthew Iglesias is already defending the action. It's Vox.com. Anyway, stick around. I've got more videos coming up in just a few minutes.